Could you tell us the main points of the speech you're going to hold here?
Sure thing. The speech is going to be about Internet of Things and how it relates to critical infrastructure specifically, and then what ONVIF and other standards bodies are doing to kind of help with the cybersecurity risks and concerns that are kind of coming up as you have this proliferation of smart devices and adding communication and awareness across the networks.
So what's ONVIF doing to tackle the vulnerability of critical infrastructures?
So ONVIF is focusing on, well, in some ways you could actually say that we're kind of a part of the problem, right? Because we focus on making all these devices talk better together. But as a part of that, we're focusing on the processes around security. Because security isn't really a product. Security is a process or a service to think through. And it's a mindset that you have to have. A lot of the security implementations that we need to employ to protect ourselves are already there on cameras and on DVR devices today. It's just that we don't have the maturity at the manufacturer level, at the vendor level, and even at the end user level to take advantage of those things and get them set up appropriately out of the box. So one of the things we did last year was we introduced ONVIF Profile Q, which is really focused around a quick setup of devices in your video security environment. And that includes things like making sure you have your usernames and passwords configured and set up. It includes things like using SSL communications to encrypt traffic and making sure that those configurations are turned on by default in the cameras.
You were talking about mindset. Do you think the operators in these sectors at different levels, as you mentioned, are ready and willing to tackle this challenge of IoT?
Yeah, so I think there's obviously been a lot of buzz about this in the news. One of the things I'll mention in my talk is the big distributed denial of service attack that happened late October last year. So I think a lot of people are thinking about it more than they have been in the past. In the past, it was very easy to think of all of the edge devices that you have as essentially, you plug them in and kind of forget that they're there, right? Now people are much more aware that these devices are, they're little mini computers and they're access points into your network. So I think people want to help solve the problem. What ONVIF can do to help make that more feasible is drive some of the standards, drive some of the out-of-box configurations, and simplify the maintenance of those passwords, simplify the maintenance of the security protocols on those devices. So you don't necessarily have to physically touch every single device. You can do it from a central location.
Okay, one last question. Do you think ONVIF job would be easier in some part of the world rather than others? What's your opinion about the EMEA market, United States market, or this Middle East market?
That's a good question. So I think we get a lot of focus really in kind of the Asian market. And I think that's because you have a lot of new entrants in that market, right? You mentioned the Middle East and the U.S. There's fairly mature manufacturer bases there, and most of the mature companies in the security space are already working with us anyway because they recognize the benefits to them at the manufacturer level, just in managing the workload and making all of the different firmware drivers and things to connect their cameras to different systems or their systems to different cameras. So I don't know that it's necessarily easier or harder in any particular part of the world. I wouldn't say that.
Any future forecasts about access control and any new profile ONVIF is releasing in the future?
Well, absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned that. So we had recently released Profile C. That was our first foray into access control. Later this year, kind of mid-year time frame, we'll be releasing Profile A, which is going to be a more comprehensive look at access control devices from an ONVIF perspective. So we're pretty excited about that. As you start to talk about IoT, you realize you start jumping out of just the standard kind of video model. And ONVIF is very focused on more than just video. We want to be able to connect all of the IP devices in your security system together and drive that connectivity paradigm.